Why would any Baba keep photographs of Netaji's family with himself? Why would any sadhu keep letters belonging to Netaji, which were received by Netaji, with himself?
Thank you so much for joining. It is an absolute honor to have you on the show. So firstly, despite aspiring for a career in academics, what made you join the IPS?
Well, in my time, Shreya, the decision about your career or about your marriage was not your own. Your parents had a major role to play what you wanted to do in life. And that was the generation, and I don't regret it. I think my parents prevailed upon me and said, you joined the civil services, and civil services seem to have better options. So it was perhaps because of the peer pressure and, of course, the influence of my parents that prompted me to take up civil services rather than academics.
We were talking about your preparation and interview experience. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, certainly. My preparation was not exceeding 6 months, maybe around 6 months, but less than 7 months. And we started afresh. I was the only science student, and the other 5, we were a group of 6, and the other were art students. Somebody was doing political science, somebody was doing history, but we all collected together, assembled, exchanged note on the compulsory subjects, and the optionals, we had a common subject also, that was history. So we decided to write history notes, since there was, in those days, you did not have photocopiers and Xeroxing machines. So we would write copious notes, extensive notes, and those who wanted to make duplicate used carbon paper and ball pen. And we exchanged notes thereafter. Elaborate discussion, we of course didn't waste time meeting on a daily basis. We would meet almost twice or thrice a week, and then the meeting never exceeded 2 hours. It had to be, it was an unwritten code that we'd assemble and disperse in about 2 hours. All the interaction had to happen in those 2 hours, and we would change places. It could be A, it could be B, me, it could be C, and then we would assemble. And also there was an element of frugality. No lavish snacks, only a glass of water, a cup of tea, and a couple of biscuits. That was all. They were very well-to-do people, and they were not so well-to-do amongst us. So we had decided, a decision was made that we will only serve glass of water, tea, and biscuits only for us. And it was so very refreshing and rewarding. Are you on mute?
Yes, it's better now, I guess. What was your training experience like?
The experience was very rewarding. We would encourage each other. We'll pep up, give pep talks to each other. We would all, like any youngster, would feel low once in a while. You say that I'm not going to make it. No, of course you can make it. You are the best. You can make it. Work hard, give it all that you have. You owe it to yourself, to your parents. Work hard. And those of us who are very fond of film, very few digressions. Some of us would go for a shikar and hunt, go fishing and hunting. No, don't go hunting and fishing. Stay with your books, study hard, don't watch movies for the next 5 or 6 months, don't read novels, and just concentrate on the studies. And then we will see all the films. We'll go on a shikar all over. We will even go to Africa when we make it in the civil services for the shikar. But as of now, it was books and nothing but books. And it was so engrossing that 14 hours a day was with books alone, and then the interaction with the family, maybe a couple of hours, 5 hours of sleep. That was about all. There was no question of doing anything else. That was the day when we did not have smartphones, no televisions. Radio, of course, was out of the question. It was just books for about good 14, 15 hours, and a lot of study, lot of hard work. I had kept weight training equipment in my room. During the course of my study, I would work out also during the course of my studies, because it was so boring and it was too much of a demand to go to a gymnasium. We did not have gymnasium then. We had Vyayam Shalas. So we had Sri Hanumat Niketan Vyayam Shala, where I would go, but then it was not possible because I had to cycle down to the Vyayam Shala. That took about 20 minutes. Coming back again was 20 minutes. Working out there was more than an hour. It was better to have the weight training equipment and all the exercise material, do push-ups in the room itself. That was a very welcome positive digression. excellent workouts, and that was excellent time management also.
So after you made it to the IPS, what was the training experience there like?
The training experience was so fascinating. I mean, again, you'd be surprised to know it was very, very demanding. It began at 5 a.m. and ended at something around, say, 8 p.m. when you went to the dinner at about 8. It was almost every minute that was audited. You're required to be in the parade ground. You're supposed to do PT, horse riding, swimming, outdoor, indoor. And it was so rigorous. And then you'd be surprised to know that even after this rigorous and extensive outdoor and demanding routine, I had kept exercise equipment in my room. So on one of the days of the inspection, when Mr. S.M. Dias, late Mr. S.M. Dias, a very illustrious IPS officer who was the director of the National Police Academy, was taking around, and he saw in my room that there was some exercise equipment. Oh, it seems that the demands of the PT and the outdoor are not enough to fatigue you, so that you do workouts in your room also. Yes, sir. So that was the last, another extra period of outdoor for all the officer trainings, and everybody started cursing me. You hump of a trainee, you have made us do sweat out for another 50 minutes just because of you, that you decide to do push-ups in your rooms and do sit-ups in your room. You made us all work out like dogs for another period. The director didn't take it very kindly that I didn't fatigue at the at the outdoor that we were subjected to. And then the interaction with the guest speakers, the most illustrious of the IPS, the IES and the ICS, the IP, and also the specialists in their respective fields, the doctors, the engineers, the chartered accountants. We did not have cyber crime then because there was no cyber world, but all the experts of almost any field pertaining to crime, criminology, medicine, medical legal aspects, administration and management were there and would lecture us. It was indeed a process of great interaction and learning there at National Police Academy. We were the last batch at Mount Abu and the first batch at Hyderabad.
So I understand your experiences would vary according to your ranks, but even then, in general, what is a day in the life of an IPS officer like?
There are two shades I will tell you. One is in the field, and one is in the office, like you're in the CB, in the vigilance department, in the paramilitary. In the non-field assignments, your life is pretty regulated, in the sense that you know that you have to go to the office at 10 a.m. and return by about 6 in the evening. You have a lunch of half an hour. You have the luxury of being in the office without being disturbed by extraneous consideration. But life in the field is very different, and I have spent more than 25 years in the field. You do not know where you are getting the next meal. There are no timings. On an average, you come back home at about 10 at night, and you keep awake till about 12:30, so that the last show, which ends at about 12:15, when all those who are seeing the last show of the film by 12 reach home, then you can say that it's the time to have dinner and go off to sleep. So you literally hit the bed around 12:30 or 1, and then by the time you hit the bed, a few robberies are taking place, there are a few stabbings that are taking place. Then you're told there has been a stabbing in the city, there's been a robbery in the city. So ultimately, during the course of the sleep, but you do develop this sense that you wake up, give cogent and logical answers to the problems thrown at you at random, and then go back to sleep. Now it's not possible. If somebody wakes me up, say about 2, then it will be difficult to get back to sleep again. But even now, even if I want to, I am not in the police any longer. I'm retired. But if I want to sleep before 1 at night, I can't sleep, because the biological clock has been tuned in a manner that sleep will come only after 1 o'clock. And then I'm accustomed to working very hard. That is the bonus that I have, the police life in the police has given me. I work very hard. I work out very hard. I can capable of sustained hard work. I don't have to sleep in the afternoons, and no amount of challenges can ever deter me. And then it is a balance between your personal life, to which you give. My first teacher said, Mr. B.S. Bedi, who was SSP Allahabad, he said, there are 24 hours, 8 hours for you. Sleep, your daily routine, 8 hours of field work, and 8 hours of office work. So 16 hours of work, of which 8 is office, 8 is field inspection of police station, visiting scene of crime, addressing constables and the lower ranks, going for parade, etc., inspections, and 8 in the office. And for 8 hours, that would include sleep, food, and everything. But very rewarding, I can tell you, very rewarding.
Talking of challenges, can you share some challenges that you faced in your career?
A police officer faces challenges every day, the day he joins service till the day of retirement. I cannot think of a single day where there were no challenges. Challenges pertaining to managing your own flock. UP Police is the largest police force in the world, around 200,000 when I was the DGP. And also, if you were to add to the crime of Uttar Pradesh, had Uttar Pradesh been a country, it would have been the 5th largest country in the world. So the crime of Uttar Pradesh, also commensurate to size, exceeds the total crime of Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Delhi, Kashmir, and Madhya Pradesh. The total crime of these 5-6 states and UP crime. Therefore, the experience and the challenge to work out crimes, and the challenges, I would say, whether it was caste conflicts, whether it was communal conflicts, whether it was crime of a type, mass murders, gang rapes, robberies, bank robberies, and by the time, in the last few years of my career, it was cyber crime. And the challenges that I had to face initially was, in the first 10-15 years, banditry, what you know, the dacoits on which films were made. The Bandit Queen, Phulan Devi, Malkhan Singh Gang, Madhav Singh Gang, Mohar Singh Gang, Chaviram Pothi, Mahaviriya, Shevraj, Tehsildar, Madhav Singh, Mohar Singh. I could name on and on and on. This was banditry. And banditry, because the good efforts made by the MP police and the UP police came to an end. But when banditry ended, we were engaged with the Punjab terrorism, the Khalistan movement. That took about another 10 years. After the Punjab terrorism came the days of terrorism, Al-Qaida, Hizbul Mujahideen, Dukhtaran Millat, Indian Mujahideen, Simi, and other such outfits which still continue and engage the best minds in the police of all ranks. So these are the challenges. It's difficult to find a single day when you do not generate intelligence, you do not work on intelligence that you have, you don't go for raids, you don't pursue criminals, you don't interrogate criminals, you don't interact with your own force to set the morale at the highest level and to make it into the most efficient fighting machine in the world. Because if the morale is low, if the knowledge content is low, it cannot be the best fighting machine. And to be the best fighting machine, the soft skills, courtesy, politeness, integrity, that has to be taken care of, that has to be addressed. Then the criminal intelligence has to be generated, the documentation has to be addressed, as also the other aspects that you are the best fighting machine, that you go for PT, parade, drills, and also games with your fellow men and junior colleagues in the evenings, so that you are then rubbing shoulders. That builds up the spirit decor. And then there is an equation that yes, the Jawan won't go to the Neta, he'll come to you, because during the course of the parade, during the course of the drills and playing games with him, he knows that he's not my Sahab, he's not my boss, he's one of us. And then when that barrier is broken, that glass partition is broken, that is the time that yes, you have arrived and your junior colleagues have confidence in you. They will be with you, they will not abandon you, they will die for you also. That is the challenge, and that is what every IPS officer is paid to have that level of equation and working relationship with his force.
Why is UP the #1 state in crimes against women and Dalits?
I think it's a misnomer. As I said before, if UP had been a country, it would have been the 5th largest country. Even today, the crime in Uttar Pradesh is more than the crime of the 5 northern states, which have a crime of their own. If you put crime, take another view, crime per 1 lakh population. I give you another formula. If you take it crime per lakh of population, you will find that UP is on number 18. There are 17 states that are above, because policing here is traditional. Policing here is progressive. Policing in Uttar Pradesh is technology oriented. But the statistics, by sheer statistics, if I were to say that you compare a village primary school with, say, your Jadavpur University, there is no comparison. Comparison should be between comparables. But you say, but this is also an educational institution, and this is also an educational institution. Fact of the matter is, and the ground reality is, a university is a university. A primary school is a primary school. Uttar Pradesh is almost like a country. Here, the statistics will have to be related to the population. Please address and make an equation. This crime in respect of per lakh population, and then you'll see, then the conclusion that UP is very, very low because the crime control is brilliant. Of course, we go to other states to train police officers there. We have a training camp that we train overseas officers in our police academies. That is because that policing has been perfected into an art and a science both in Uttar Pradesh.
How did you first come across the Gumnami Baba issue?
Gumnami Baba issue came because I have studied in Faizabad. My father was posted as senior officer in Gumnami Baba. The place where Gumnami Baba stayed was very, very close to where I used to stay. And my father used to tell me, but that I was student of class 11 when my father was posted, that there's a Gumnami Baba who could possibly, he never said that he was, but he was privy to the fact, who could be Netaji. But I was far too young a student of class. For him, it doesn't really matter whether it was Netaji or a Gumnami Baba. Different story altogether. I was also, when I was so fascinated by Swami Vivekananda's philosophy, I had become a hermit or a sadhu also for some time. And I stayed in Faizabad. Also came to aware that there's a Gumnami Baba who's reported to be Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. But when I became a police officer and all these documentation and all these reports I was privy to, they said that there is a gentleman who conceals his identity, who does not come out. For decades together, he has not come out. He is from an absolutely aristocratic Bengali background, a Rolex watch, Wedgwood China tea sets, the spectacles of silver frame of the same specifications as Netaji used to wear, almost the same. Letters written in Bengali in the same English handwriting of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Also, family photographs of Netaji. Why would any Baba keep photographs of Netaji's family with himself? Why would any sadhu keep letters belonging to Netaji, which were received by Netaji, with himself? Then the military and the operational literature found there was almost that if India were to launch an attack on China through Lakhimpur area and Indo-Nepal borders, the maps, the magnetic compass, the German field glasses, and the maps, do you think for a moment any sadhu would be interested in waging war against China? Do you think he would be interested in the maps? And then the English handwriting of the Gumnami Baba was addressed to handwriting experts in the USA because India was very, very, very unfair to Netaji. Whatever be the political reasons, was very unfair to Netaji. It did not subject his handwriting and those handwriting of the Gumnami Baba to handwriting. But the American fingerprint experts see Anuj Dhar's writings and you will see that yes, indeed those English writings were those of Netaji Subhash without any mistake, without any ambiguity. Now, youngsters like you ask me, why did Gumnami Baba, if he were Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, where to hide himself, go underground? You see, we are a very ungrateful nation. We have totally forgotten the sacrifices and the contribution made by Netaji for a freedom movement. We even threatened him. Now, I'll tell you something that nobody would have told you. Netaji, because to set and give us our independence, had met Adolf Hitler. He was designated the Deputy Führer of India by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. So an ungrateful nation even threatened him that we will try you just like the Nuremberg trials and try you for all the deaths that happened in Japan, Formosa, China, Vietnam, the Burma campaigns. I mean, how unfair and ungrateful can a society be? That is why probably our own Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji, became a Gumnami Baba and died as a Gumnami Baba.
There are often arguments against encounters that take place. So as an officer, what are the circumstances in which these encounters take place and what are your views about them?
The arguments are against fake encounters. There are no arguments against legitimate and genuine encounters which are mandated by law. There are encounters that are genuine, and in genuine encounters, there's an exchange of fire, and as mandated by law, by the section 96 of the Indian Penal Code up to section 106 of the Indian Penal Code, also a provision of the CRPC, that if an accused is charged with an offense that exceeds the punishment of which exceeds 7 years, proportionate force, that you can use force to apprehend that person, giving him fair warning, minimum force to apprehend him, to safeguard your life and that of others. That minimum force has to be used. If that be the case, the encounter is legitimate, it is acceptable by law. But if I choose to pick up, or I'm lucky to get somebody who's a rewarded criminal while he's asleep, bundle him up in my car, take him to a forest and pump 5 bullets into him and say it was an encounter, this is just not acceptable, because this is cold-blooded, deliberate murder. And such police officers are a blot on the good name of the police department, and they should be charged with murder and thrown out of the police department. Therefore, there is no scope for fake encounter. That is why the National Human Rights Commission and the law mandates, if there's an encounter, it should be investigated by some other police station. If somebody wants to lodge a complaint against the firing party, they can do so. The National Human Rights Commission has given a set of do's and don'ts. What kind of report? A magisterial inquiry has to be ordered and ensured, and therefore there has to be a system of transparency in encounters. You must have heard of the Hyderabad model, which has become very popular in the country. I do not subscribe to such models, though the end product may be very good. There may be a lot of public appreciation. But the bottom line, Shreya, is that the Hyderabad experiment is beyond the ambit of law, although the inquiry is still on. But in case it's a fake encounter, I do not subscribe to fake encounters.
What is the scope of pursuing higher studies in service?
There is so much to do and study higher. I myself did my Ph.D. for 5 years while in the IPS and being throughout in the field. And then as SSP Nainital, I joined Ph.D., enrolled in Kumaon University, and got my Ph.D. when I was at SSP Kanpur. From Nainital, I went to SSP Agra. SSP Agra became SSP Kanpur, the most demanding stations, not only in Uttar Pradesh, but maybe in India. But I completed my PhD. But if you want to take a study leave, go abroad, which is also a possibility. I was also offered to be sent to the USSR. But at that point of time, post 1990, at that point of time, learning Russian was a task. Then going to America was on, I got a scholarship at 50-50. Today, if I get it, I certainly will, but I'm too old to study now. But if there's an opportunity, I would love to go to USA and study there. And very many officers, Asim Arun, Police Commissioner Kanpur, went to Canada and got his master's there, the second master's. There are so many officers who go on full chevening scholarships. There are those who get scholarships and go abroad. 99% of the officers who go abroad and study and get the degrees starting from masters to PhDs and postdoctoral do it on a scholarship or government-sponsored study leave. You get study leave also, you get leave without pay. So if you want to go out and study for 3 years, whether in India and abroad, there's ample opportunity to get leave, to be funded for your studies, and come back much, much wiser and enlightened.
So I'll come to my last question. What would be your message for aspirants?
My message to aspirants would be focused. There is no substitute for hard work. Pain, sacrifice, and effort are the 3 ingredients of success. And I'll give you a formula which I have given to students. Focus plus daily improvement plus time is equal to a genius. May God always bless your path.